Hi, I'm Lynn Rogers. I lived through the summer of love when I was a teenager. Lived to tell the tale. Where the Flowers Have Gone is my book about those times, as is Born in Berkeley through Inkling Press. It was the best of times and the worst of times. I was a teenager. I used to hitchhike or take the bus from Menlo Park up to the Fillmore. I demonstrated for peace. I knew Ken Kesey, Neil Cassidy. It was a scary time. It was a tumultuous and spontaneous time, and I love the color still. I love the playful creativity. I love the music. It was a time in which American individualists moved, that wave of exploration moved to the far west coast, and when it couldn't go any farther, we turned within. It was a time when our World War II parents had given us so much security with their patriotism and emphasis on the nuclear family that we could move away from the Depression and move away from war and set ideals that have permeated even this time. Ecology, the equality of persons of different races and gender orientations, it began to evolve in that period. I loved the sense of going in a velvet dress and a fringe jacket and dancing under the strobe lights without a partner, swirling my light brown hair, swirling around me, ending up maybe later in some sort of Fleabag place in the Fillmore where we talked about poetry, we talked about art, we talked about love. It was an unusual exploratory time that affected our mass consciousness. And I was born in Berkeley and returned to Berkeley, eventually went to UC Berkeley after some of that at 17 years old. And it's an unforgettable time that shaped the lives of many of my generation. One thing people don't know is that the average high school student of the Summer of Love class was very traditional and conservative. There were only 3 of us in that class who had explored, by linking with Quakers and activists, had explored ideals beyond the limitations of our upper middle class and even affluent existences. You could compare it somewhat to Francis and Claire of long ago Assisi, who rebelled against the monetary exchange in the church, against poor people slaving over cloth of gold, threw off all the trappings and served the poor, communicated with the birds. At its best, we came back to the essence of what makes a person and celebrated together. Anti-materialism was huge. We've lost that point. It wasn't about what things you possessed and how you dressed. We were happy to recycle simple materials and to live much like Native Americans. It was the best of times, but also the worst of times, as a criminal element began to shroud the Haight-Ashbury. And the drug scene, I think, although some may swear by it, for many it was the shadow that fell over the time. And in fact, there are people who even theorize that drugs that were used previously in the CIA and even Nazi Germany were used and injected into the community to stop some of the tremendous movement towards social change. The best of times and the worst of times, as Dickens has said. I'm happy to have lived through it. I'm happy to be an author and an artist who can still rock and still express the color and the joy of those times. I'm Lynn Rogers, author of Born in Berkeley and Where the Flowers Have Gone. They're available through Inkling Press and on electronic publishing through Amazon.com. My post-60s art is on Fine Art America. Let's celebrate the Summer of Love. Thank you.